You have of course seen live the Prime Minister's statement at the BRICS leaders meeting, and the joint media statement is also up on the website. I just want to therefore very briefly flag that in the joint media statement there are several significant points which India has introduced and which for us as a country is important, and the Prime Minister has been stressing this at the G20 as well as BRICS. Firstly, I think we all agreed at BRICS, all 5 countries, that we need to sustain a favourable global environment for international trade, and that BRICS countries represent now a significant part of that global growth. And the Prime Minister's view has consistently been that India is an engine now for global growth and will be a bigger engine in the future, and therefore we have a role to play. I want to draw your attention in particular to the important point made in the BRICS statement about the interface between trade and the digital economy, and also to affirm the role of data for development. From our perspective, data is a major issue. It is an issue which we are also domestically looking at, where international rulemaking is taking place. Our view and the view of the other BRICS countries is that this should be discussed within the WTO context and not outside the WTO context, and that data also needs to take into account the requirements of developing countries. It is a new form of wealth, and therefore this particular point in the BRICS statement, coming as it does when the WTO is looking into framing rules for international rules for data, is important. Prime Minister, as you know, has for the last couple of years been talking of reformed multilateralism. Multilateral institutions need to remain, but they also deserve to be reformed. And in that context, I therefore want to point to that particular paragraph in this BRICS statement, which talks of our commitment to multilateralism and international law, but also talks of the necessary reform of the organizations with a view to better addressing current and future challenges in international trade. This is also shared by the other BRICS members. Lastly, I want to mention that there is a mention of the institutions that the BRICS have set up in the last few years, particularly the New Development Bank and the Contingent Reserve Arrangement. These are working well. Actually, the New Development Bank has begun significant lending operations, including to projects in India. They are looking at the possibility of inducting new members in the future, and we are also therefore looking at creating new institutions within BRICS. In that context, the Prime Minister in his speech referred to the initiative that we have taken for this coalition for disaster resilient infrastructure, and sought the support of other BRICS countries, China, Russia, Brazil and South Africa for this purpose. Finally, of course, the paragraph on terrorism is important for us. All the BRICS countries have condemned terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. It has reiterated the responsibility for preventing financing of terrorism, for using territories for terrorist purposes, for exploitation of the internet for terrorist purposes, and to eliminate their ability to use digital platforms to recruit people, to train people, to raise finances and so on. So in a nutshell, I think the BRICS meeting has been something that we can take satisfaction from. Subsequent to that was a meeting with His Royal Highness the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. You recall that the Crown Prince had visited India in February, and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman recalled his February visit with a lot of warmth. He felt it was a very successful visit. He was one of the leaders to congratulate our Prime Minister on his election, and Prime Minister recalled that he had very warm words on that occasion. As you know, we set up a strategic partnership council when the Crown Prince came in February at the leadership level to make an assessment of the bilateral relationship, to see how we can get Saudi investments into India, how to secure our energy requirements of the Saudis and so on. So they had a brief discussion on that. Prime Minister of course welcomed the Saudi initiative announced in February to get up to $100 billion in investment. Naturally, both leaders discussed the situation in the Gulf. They agreed, and Prime Minister said that this will could affect to the oil supplies and the pricing of oil. Both of these are important for India. And Prime Minister particularly appreciated the efforts made by Saudi Arabia in ensuring that the oil supplies have remained stable and oil prices have remained predictable in the last few months.